In this video, we will be discussing collusion and how two firms can act as one firm to maximize their profits. So continuing from part 1, we have the second part of the problem where they ask us to find the profit of each firm if they were to engage in collusion. And collusion is where two firms work together and act as one firm to cheat the system. And as a result, collusion is illegal. And due to the fact that collusion is legal, there is high incentive to cheat in certain circumstances. Now, when two firms are deciding whether or not to collude, they have to see if collusion is worth it in this regard. So if one firm has a significantly lower total cost than the other, or marginal cost, they would not want to collude because the firm with the lower marginal cost or total cost would be able to drive the other firm out of the market. And in this case, both firms share the same total cost function, and as a result, the same marginal cost functions. So if we were to write the marginal cost functions down that we found earlier, we'd have marginal cost of A, which equaled 6 plus 0.5 QA, and marginal cost of B, which equals 6 plus 0.5 QB. So both firms cannot undermine each other to drive the other out of the market. And since both these firms are deciding to collude, they would want to combine their marginal costs somehow and get a cost function for profit maximization that would work as if they were a monopoly. So we have to combine these marginal cost functions somehow. And the main way we would combine these two marginal cost functions is through horizontal summation. So we would want to solve for Q for each of these functions, and then add the two functions together and solve back for our marginal cost. So first things first, we want to solve for Q in our marginal cost function. So what we would do is we would subtract 6 from both sides and get marginal cost of A minus 6 equals 0.5 QA. And then we would divide both sides by 0.5, which is just like multiplying both sides by 2. And we get QA equals 2 marginal cost of A minus 12. And since both firms have the same total cost function, as well as the same marginal cost function, that means our QB function is nearly identical. So we would have QB equals 2MCB minus 12. And so what we want to do is we want to combine these two functions. So we would have Q equals QA plus QB. And so, by combining them, we get Q equals 4 times the marginal cost minus 24. And we are able to add the two marginal costs together because at the profit maximizing point, marginal cost of A equals marginal cost of B equals the total marginal cost. So all our marginal costs are technically identical. And so we have our quantity function, and we want to solve for marginal cost now. So what we would do is we would add 24 to both sides and get 4 times the marginal cost equals Q plus 24. And if we were to divide both sides by 4, we would get marginal cost equals 1/4 times Q plus 6. So now we have a marginal cost function as if these two companies were acting as a monopoly. And since they're profit maximizing as a monopoly, they would use the rule marginal revenue equals marginal cost to profit maximize. And so we have our marginal cost function We just need to find our marginal revenue function. Now, if we recall from the beginning of this problem, we had a price function of P equals 250 minus 0.5 Q. And what we want to do is we want to get our total revenue to get to our marginal revenue, and our total revenue is P times Q. So we would have Q times the quantity, which is our price function of 250 minus 0.5 times Q. And if we distribute that Q, we get a total revenue function of 250Q minus 0.5 Q squared. And now we want to find our marginal revenue. And our marginal revenue is found by taking the derivative of the total revenue function with respect to Q. And that derivative ends up being 250 minus Q. So now we have our marginal revenue, we have our marginal cost, we can set them equal to each other. So we have a marginal revenue of 250 minus Q, and our marginal cost was 1/4 or 0.25 Q plus 6. And we want to solve for Q. So what we'll do is we will add Q to both sides, as well as subtract 6 from both sides. And what we get is 244 equals 1.25 Q. And if we divide both sides by 1.25, we get a Q equals to 195.2. Now this 195 is the total market quantity. We want to find the quantity for each individual firm. So since these two firms are cheating, they want to split the profits 50-50, which means they're also going to split the quantity 50-50. So what we'll do to find QA and QB is we'll have QA equals Q divided by 2. So we have 195.2 divided by 2, and we get a quantity of A equals 97.6. And firm B will also get the same quantity, since they're splitting it 50-50, so they'll also produce 97.6 units of whatever good they're producing. Now when it comes to finding the price they'll charge for this good, they will plug the total market quantity into the price function that was given at the beginning of this problem. So we have price equals 250 minus 0.5 times our total quantity, which was 195.2, and we find the price to be equal to 152.4. So they will charge $152.40 for whatever good they're producing. And this will lead to the highest profit they can achieve through collusion. Last but not least, we will find the profit. And if we recall, the profit function is price times quantity minus our total cost. And so the profit function for A will be our price of 152.4 times 97.6, and then minus our total cost function of 450 plus 6 times 97.6. And then continuing, we would add 0.25 times 97.6 squared. And that is our total cost function, as well as the entirety of our profit function. And if we were to plug that entire profit function into our calculator, we would get a profit of 11,457.2. and this is the profit that firm A will achieve through collusion. And since both firms are splitting the profit 50-50, firm B will earn the same profit of 11,457.2. So the major thing that most will notice is these are much higher profits than the previous profits found in part 1, which were only about 6,164. However, with collusion, since it is illegal, there are no laws to protect either firm that is participating in collusion, as it is uncompetitive activity. As a result, there is high incentive to cheat. So, if firm A wishes to earn a higher profit than the profit they're already earning, there's nothing stopping them from producing more goods and earning more profit, which then lowers the price and hurts firm B as a result. And there's nothing stopping firm B from doing the same exact thing. Due to this, it is highly recommended to not participate in collusion, in addition to the fact that it is also illegal. That will conclude this video series on price competition.